what prompted you to start Verantos?
Sure. I had just transitioned out of my previous company. It was a great experience. Health Fidelity became a leader in payer provider space using artificial intelligence. The year was 2014, and I had time on my hands. And it was nice. I was being invited to do things I really cared about. I was continuing to do research through my faculty position at Stanford. The I had gotten to know great people in the U.S. government through my work in the Obama Health Advisory Committee in '07 and '08. And the US Congress reached out and asked me if I would testify on 21st century cures. This was an initiative that was going to become a law. And I was asked what we could do to transform healthcare for the 21st century. What could be the most meaningful? And I don't think it'll surprise you looking back on things that I said artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
That was my background, and I thought that there was a real future in AI in healthcare. And they asked in congressional retreat, "What are you afraid of?" And I said, "Data quality issues. I'm afraid of low quality data influencing healthcare in the wrong way. We have such a track record of using routinely collected data and using low quality data and getting the wrong answer. And if we really believe that going forward, we're going to be using this 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 times as much to
Mhm.
figure out day to day how to deliver the best care, then
Mhm.
we better figure out data quality, how to create high validity evidence, and how to protect patients."
Mhm.
So out of that conversation, I started really thinking about this.
Mhm.
It got included into the law in 2016 that the FDA would define standards for data quality, understand what was good enough. They needed to have a framework by 2018, draft guidance by 2021, and final guidance by 2024. And I was thinking, God, how do you do this stuff?
Mhm. And so that led you to, okay, RWE, real world evidence for collecting information that is maybe more indicative to how drugs would actually impact patients. Is that?
Yeah, the holy grail of this world is saying that the holy grail of art of real world evidence is saying that randomized trials provide something very important. They'll tell you for a general group of people, all people with hypertension, which treatments are effective and safe.
Mhm.
But they won't tell you what's better than what in whom. They won't say, well, in that patient that has hypertension and diabetes, out of the 20 options, this one works great. A trial can never tell you that because they're so expensive, they're so small, they can't ever have enough patients. But
Mhm.
the holy grail is that there are natural experiments happening all the time. There are plenty of people with hypertension and diabetes being treated for their hypertension. All the different treatments are used in different places. Some of them work better than others. If we can only use the routine data across a bunch of health systems and assess the outcome of that natural experiment, who did better, then we can figure out the right treatment, what we sometimes call tailored therapy or precision medicine. What is the right treatment for that patient? That's the holy grail.
Mhm.
But if we use the wrong, low quality data, we're going to get the wrong answers and hurt people.
Mhm.
So we're trying to balance a very future view of using AI and routine data to understand what's working in whom, with a very practical view to protect patients from low quality data and bad answers.
Mhm. So is it that the data already exists? It's already out there. It was captured, it was recorded, but it's not being brought together and analyzed.
There are a few problems. One is it's not being brought together. Two, the data often exists in narrative notes from doctors.
Yeah.
The large majority exists there. And so what's needed is many layers of artificial intelligence. One layer is just to pull out the pieces from narrative notes.
Mm-hmm.
The next layer is to put together the narrative notes and the problem lists and the claims. and try to infer what's going on. What kind of patient subgroup is this? The next layer up is to split patients into cohorts, groups of patients that you can study. And the next layer is to actually do the analysis to say, okay, one group got one treatment, another group got another treatment. Who did better? And those are all different forms of artificial intelligence. Some of them deep learning, some of them large language models. It requires multiple different approaches.
Hmm. And how is Verantos being used today? If you could give us an example of maybe one of your customers, one of your clients, how are they, and maybe one that's been with you for a long time, they may have expanded in scope with what they do with your solutions. Like, can you kind of paint the picture for the audience?
I can. Let me first give a little background on what's happened with the company. So the company worked hard on science over the initial years, 2017, 2018, 2019. We were funded by NSF, NIH, FDA. We became the only grant-funded group focused on data quality by the FDA, and then the only contracted group working on data quality with the Food and Drug Administration. Our customers, which are life sciences groups, they're also the ones that fund randomized trials, so they generate most of the evidence in this country. Our customers have come to us and said, can you generate really believable evidence? Can you make the data super high quality and generate really believable evidence? It helps that our work with the FDA has been around defining how to figure out data quality. We
Hmm.
define how to measure data quality, how to measure accuracy, completeness, and traceability, and what would be required to optimize it to get levels that are super high.
Hmm.
Because of that, our customers, top pharma, will come to us and ask, okay, can you develop a data set in, for example, severe asthma? One of our customers, a top pharma firm, works with us in severe asthma and says, which subgroup is doing better? We want to publish evidence on who is really benefiting from these treatments. And we love that. Our customers tend to really want to show where their treatments shine, but also guide people toward the areas where it's most effective.
Hmm.
So that's been incredibly powerful. I'll also say that as we work with the provider organizations, the health systems that are treating patients, while we don't particularly want to make money off of them, we give the data back to them. We
Hmm.
enrich it. We create these high quality data sets. We say use this to make care better.
Hmm.
So even though it's life sciences groups that fund all the trials in this country and fund not all of it, the majority of trials and fund much of the evidence, the health systems need the evidence too, and that's important to us.
Hmm. And so you will have specific cases that the life sciences companies bring to you, and then your mandate is to go and construct kind of the process by which you will get the right data and analyze it on their behalf.
Super high quality data. We link different data sets, we curate, we bring it together, we infer, we create the super high quality data set with measured accuracy, completeness, and traceability. And once we have the most believable, rich, scaled data set in the world in that space, which we always do,
Yeah.
then we say, okay, let's generate the evidence. Let's figure out what's really going on. So it's
Uh-huh.
a two-step problem.
Excellent.
But the evidence generation, honestly, is pretty easy. It's the data part that's hard. Once you have really good data, you can analyze it pretty easily.
Can you give us a sense for the scale of the business currently? And you can, use whatever
Yeah.
metrics you're comfortable with.
We've got 70 people across multiple countries. We have a huge variety of expertise, PhDs and masters in computer science and medicine and epidemiology, and often multiple. The company works with a handful of the absolute top life sciences firms, and we've been growing every year. We grow. Um, we grow headcount, we grow revenue. We're one of the few companies in the space that's been consistent in that.
Excellent. And from what I gather, you did receive some grants, but you're more or less operating in a bootstrap fashion. You didn't take any large sums of capital from venture capital, and you're kind of in a self-sustainable or profitable mode.
It's an interesting challenge in this industry, which is um, investors are terrific. They can help scale a business quickly, but sometimes the pressures they put in a board level for growth are not perfect for science that has a longer time horizon.
Hmm.
And so when I started this company, I said, well, it may take 10 years to define data quality and to develop the technical capabilities and for AI to get to a place where it could do this. And it has been 10 years.
Hmm.
And so when I started it, I decided to fund it myself. I've since allowed some colleagues to come in as investors, CEOs of public health tech companies, personal investment from large investors. But really, this is a company that's self-owned. The employees own the company, and our hearts are in the long-term science. We don't mind taking our time to grow.
Hmm. It's a very interesting dynamic where if you can operate somewhat independently, you can go for a much longer time because there's less of that external pressure to exit or to get a return. Um, and yeah, it's probably I mean, obviously it was intentional to approach the business that way. Um, could you foresee it ever changing?
Well, yeah, so my last company was venture funded and had multiple rounds of financing, and it was fun. It's fun to grow quickly, and it can be financially rewarding if you're successful,
Hmm.
right? You can quickly get to great financial rewards. This company was not about the fastest financial rewards.
Hmm.
There are different rewards. There are intellectual rewards. There are rewards of benefiting patients, and so it's more fun. It's
Hmm.
more fun. As to what I see in the future, there gets to be a point where a company has proven its product market fit, where it shows we do the things we say we're going to do. It took us a long time to figure it out, but we've done it. And then
Hmm.
the company needs to scale. And there are multiple mechanisms to more rapidly scale a company, from investments to public markets, mergers. There are lots of ways to do that. I think what I'm going to continue to do is let the principles of the company, the mission and vision, guide me. We want to develop the highest quality data sets. We want to develop the highest validity evidence. And we want to show the world what that looks like because
Hmm.
it's hard and no one
Hmm.
else has done it yet. We're doing this at scale. We're the first to do this at scale.
Hmm.
So we're going to continue showing what good looks like. We are we're going to capitalize ourselves appropriate for that. And yeah, it's fun running the company with that level of flexibility.
Well, I'd like to switch gears a little bit to learn more about you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Los Angeles. I went and did some training on the East Coast. That was about as hard as could be. It was so cold out there. With that said, it was absolutely beautiful living in Boston and New York. I came back to Silicon Valley as I was trying to figure out my career. I
Hmm.
was a young doctor who had paid my way through medical school, writing software and selling it online. I absolutely love technology. I kept building stuff, and no one who was training me totally understood why I was building all these things, but I would stay up late at night writing software and building prototypes. And there got to be a point where I had to go to business school. I had to learn more bioinformatics. I had such a great experience between MIT and Stanford. And ultimately, Stanford gave me a home in 2004 and 2008. They invited me to do fellowships.
Hmm.
And I just couldn't, I just loved Silicon Valley. I was a
Hmm.
young surgeon who was invited into this policy work in the Obama campaign, and then later worked with Congress, and I had worked with venture firms and grown products, and it was just so exciting.
Mhm.
And eventually, I said, okay, I'm just gonna run my own company, and that was kind of a crazy cliff to jump off of, but at that point, I had enough support from the people around me that it was not easy, but it felt like I had a team.
Amazing. Great. Well, and what's the we touched on this before, but what's the ultimate vision for Verantos? We alluded to there's a right time for companies to go to the next stage, and whether that be a significant merger or capital transaction, but
Yeah.
what's the overall vision, high level for the company?
The overall vision is that as this trend, which I think is largely unstoppable now, this trend of in every industry using routine data to better understand,
Mm,
right? And we see that through ChatGPT and Claude and through all these products. I think it's unstoppable as that trend happens in healthcare. And we start to absorb the data and try to understand. I want us to be the firm that's there saying we started to figure it out. We've
hmm
got metrics. We know how to think about quality. We know how to think about evidence validity. You don't need to start from scratch.
hmm
Because in my mind, it's okay in many other areas to learn as you go. In healthcare, it's always a little less okay.
hmm
In healthcare, you just got to be a little more protective because of the consequences of bad information and bad decisions.